As we get started in the junior weather does, I'd like to introduce our judge for the day. This is Skylar Scottum from Nevada, Missouri. He grew up raising show cattle and goats with his family. He was an active member in 4-H and FFA and judged livestock at the collegiate level. Skylar currently resides in Lubbock, Texas, where he is the livestock judging coach at Texas Tech and PhD student studying ruminant nutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Skylar Scotton from Nevada, Missouri. Thank you. John Deere is the official agricultural and turf equipment provider of the National Western Stock Show. Visit your local John Deere dealer for great deals now, and remember, nothing runs like a deer.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me to the National Western. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here, really a dream of mine, and I'm really just thankful and grateful for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to the next 2 days, guys. It's been a pretty fast-paced on the road live here these last couple weeks with the judging team and wound up tighter than a $2 watch over these contests coming up. Nice to just take a step back, enjoy some time evaluating livestock for myself and working with these young kids. Really, really looking forward to the Doe Show tonight and the Wether Show tomorrow afternoon. We set a precedent right out of the gate, buddy, and a nice class winner in Class 1 in my trip to the National Western. I'm going to stay consistent all the way through the show. I like them wide, burly, stout. They better come in wide, and they better leave me wide, and that one does, and that's why she wins this class. She's the most intimidating in her chest. She's the biggest in her form. She's the best coming right out of her shoulder of this top three. No questions asked. When she goes away from me, I like the turn of her barrel, the width to her pin set, and the way she goes to the ground. We could tweak a thing or two, no doubt about it. Maybe just a little forward in her knee. I'd like to lengthen her and level her out of her hip just a shot. In my opinion, it's harder to generate power than it is just a notch more length to their hip. I'm going to side with that extra horsepower and burlier rib every time. The one in second can really pedal to the metal in motion. I like that one's look, and just her design from the side is awfully, awfully good. Tall shoulder, poker neck, underline sets in her extremely well. Hip and hind leg, I think, is as good as it gets in this particular lineup. For me, I get my hands on that one. I study her down her back, a little flatter in the turn of her body. She's not as prominent there to the edge of her loin. Honestly, underneath that nice hair coat, there just wasn't enough goat there to beat a really, really nice one up top. Young man's got a nice goat here in 3. Maybe holds the handling quality advantage over the 1 and 2. Big chested, good in terms of her barrel. I like that one's shape. Last rib forward. I think we're talking player in the top 2. Last rib back, I didn't think we could. A little too short and steep out of her hip. I need to strengthen that one in terms of her bone work and make her just a little bigger in terms of her forearm and foot size to match what she's packing up high. Nice job showing. I like your doe quite well. Congratulations. The one that comes in next, I thought just build, profile, and design from the side was really, really good. I like that yellow paint color. Really just eye-catching when they come in the ring. I step one around, or step her up front one time. I just didn't think that one was wide enough in her chest, and it didn't correlate to enough power from their back. But good built, great colored, very, very nice in her skeleton. Honestly, some breeding value to be found in the next 3. And I told these young ladies, hey, we're a piece or 2 away here from having a really, really nice one. I like just the lower skeleton and the design of the goat that comes next. Big-footed, stout, structured, heavy in her feature like what I like. I get right behind her and I study her from a rear 3/4. I need to open her up in her chest, make her shot broader in her pin bone for me to work up any higher. These 2 does here are real similar. I like these goats in terms of their lower skeleton, the way they set out wide at their corners. They handle hard up high. For me, they're a little slicker in their hair coat, a little steeper in their hip, and a little frailer in terms of their hind leg. The goat that we round out the class with is good as built as any, really just functional and practical in her image. We just need a little horsepower coming down her back, and we need to stouten her up from behind. Great Class 1 to get started. Very, very nice top trio. If you guys will, around ringside, let's give them a nice round of applause for their efforts.
Results of class number 1. In 8th place, Paisley Akins from Whitesboro, Texas. 7th place went to Shelby Huddleston from Snook, Texas. 6th place, Shay Robertson, Elkhart, Kansas. 5th place, Paisley Akins, Whitesboro, Texas. 4th place was McCrae Lone, Elizabeth, Colorado. 3rd place, Dylan Wagner, Padrone, Colorado. 2nd place, Riley Anderson, Chillicothe, Missouri, formerly Weld County. And 1st place, Stetson Kephart from Bargersville, Indiana. 1st and 2nd will return at the end of the show for the champion drive. Sullivan Supply is a family owned and operated company founded in 1989. As the innovative leader in livestock show supplies, Sullivan Supply has kept the values of hard work, family ties, and quality products at its core. Sullivan Supply is proud to service the livestock industry and wishes all the exhibitors at the National Western the best of luck. Weaver Livestock is committed to helping you be the very best you can be. Stop by their booth between the Junior Barn and Stadium Arena to check out their full line of show supplies backed by industry experts. Weaver is devoted to fueling your enthusiasm for showing livestock with innovative products at the National Western Stock Show.
I get a nice warm welcome to the GOAT Show in Class 2. I apologize to the young people down the line. There's not a bad goat in this class, and I want to make that first and foremost. Very, very, very good stock all the way through, and we'll talk yours here in just a second. I took just a little extra time kind of deciding there on the top 6 or 7. I thought it was kind of a 6 or 7 horse race. That said, they take off in motion. We've got a thoroughbred that needs to win. I think she combines just the body shape, power, and width underneath of the one that I like in 2 with just that neat look and just high caliber presence of some of the goats that I like on down the line, and that's why she takes a commanding lead in this particular group. A little narrower right there at the base of her jaw, to be honest with you, a little longer ear than what I like, but that is symmetry in motion. Top and underline set in her good, and that thing can take off and throw rocks from behind because her hind leg sets in her just so square and accurate from behind. I like that one quite well to win. Buddy, I really like the goat you got here in second. She comes at me stouter in her head. She's bigger in her forearm, a little broader right there in terms of her chest. She matches it with a lot of power up high. I didn't know if her hip was just perfect, to be honest with you. She's a little rounder in the way her pin bone sets into her body line. For me, she's got a little extra curl to her hind leg. Some say it's a big deal. I'm more worried about making their hip wide than just perfectly level, to be honest with you, and she does that. But when we've got a wide one that's still very, very level down their top, I didn't think she could get around her. But still, great-haired, very fresh. Got a lot of power coming at you. You do a great job showing as well. I like the kind of stock represented in 3, probably more than most, because this one's wide-chested. She's awesome in her body shape, and she's the best handling doe that we've had in the ring so far today. I thought her structure got just a little twisty up front and from behind. If I'm going to call a spade, I need to make her knee square in the way it sits into her body. I need to make her hind leg bigger and square in the way she goes from behind. But top third of that doe is lights out good. I like that one quite well. I told the young man here coming in next, I said, buddy, we're running out of horsepower here pretty quick, but I like your doe. I studied her right out of her shoulder, a little plainer right there today, and I didn't think she was as long and neat out of her rump as probably a couple of the does up the line, but just lower skeleton's right. She sets out wide at her corners, neat looking, got a good look to her up front. I enjoy my conversation with that young man quite well. The one that comes in next, very good design. I really like that one's look up front. Just underline quality is extremely good. Top line, hip and hind legs, elite. She comes right at me, young lady, and she's too narrow-chested for my taste. I think she gets along good under some guys. To me, just to be right honest with you, she's got to be just a shot wider up front. The same story to be said on the doe that comes in next. I just thought at the other end. Good-chested, and she matches the same kind of look of quality the one ahead. She runs out of just pin width and stifle shape when I get right in behind her. I need to amp that one up just in terms of her pin set and make her wrap just a little more impressive to the base of her leg. Nothing overly wrong with the doe that comes in next. I didn't think she had some wow factor pieces like some goats on up the line. If we're going to talk basic build and good time to body type, she's got it. I didn't think she had a defining feature to move up any higher. Just a little plainer in her muscle, a little plainer in motion, a little plainer in terms of her look. I don't think any of it's a deal killer by any means. I didn't think she just had that out there one piece that I could latch on to. As we move on down the line for good-bodied, functional goats that have some length and extension, I like these goats' lateness and maturity. Today, we need to stouten them up just a little bit in their bone work and their feature, and I handle them down their top. They just probably weren't as impressive as goats on up the line. But great job showing, kids. Very, very best of luck as you move forward. That was a great set of goats. Congratulations to you all.
Results of class number 2. In 10th place, Joy Baldwin from Caldwell, Texas. 9th place, Kenyon Hartle from Wellington, Colorado. 8th place, Kenyon Hartle, Wellington, Colorado. 7th place, Reese Ingvelson, Arkansas City, Kansas. 6th place, Edgemont, South Dakota. 5th place, Reagan Rogers. 4th place went to Addison Schinberger from Carnegie, Oklahoma. 3rd was Sandra Klinger from Yuma, Arizona. 2nd went to Colton Kohler from Blanchard, Oklahoma. And winner of class number 2 was Addison Schinberger from Carnegie, Oklahoma. In the ring is class number 3 of the Wether Does. Class 3 of Wether Does entering the ring. The Colorado Farm Show is proud to support the National Western Stock Show, and they invite you to attend the 58th Colorado Farm Show taking place January 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Island Grove Regional Event Center in Greeley, Colorado. Farm Show brochures are available ringside or at the announcer stand. Complete details are also online at www.coloradofarmshow.com.
This is a tight one here, guys. I'm not going to lie. This is a great pair here on the top end. Different kinds. I went back and forth in my mind on this pair for just a little bit. Ultimately, I crouch, I take a knee, watch them circle. It comes to light. I think there's one that's bigger form, bigger in her front foot, better in terms of the turn of her barrel. I think there's just a little more horsepower to be found in our class winner, and that's why the white-headed doe is going to win this particular drive. I just love this doe in terms of the stoutness of her head, the width to her chest. I thought the shape of her blade was big and still tied right in to a great big forerib. I handle her down her top. I love that doe's just symmetry in terms of her top line, yet consistently wide all the way back. To call a spade, she's not as neat out of her hip, and she's not as good in her hind leg posture standing still as a doe in second, but it is bigger, and that is important to me. So I go back and forth on which hind leg I like better. Ultimately, for me, I just like the extra horsepower and the punch that we're packing there on the doe that wins. The one in second, I think her skeleton and her look from the side is about dead center, in my opinion. I think her joint work and the way she flexes and goes at the ground is so good, and her look up front, I think, matches with a good body and a great hip, and I love this doe from behind, too. I like how stout she is in terms of her pin set and how square she is going to the ground. My biggest thing on this goat, I watch her come at me. She's the frailest at her knee and in her forearm of our top three. I'd like to make her bigger in her front foot, and I handle her right in behind her shoulder. She's probably the flattest doe of our top five, right in behind her shoulder, just to be honest with you. And I just wish she was amplified just a shot more in terms of her rack shape, bigger in her bone work, because she's got a look that could kill from the side. I like that one quite well. Last rib forward, this one right here hit me as hard as any that's came in the ring today. Great chest, beautiful neck. Love that one's freshness, and her front foot goes to the ground so square. I handled her, and I told that young man, I said, man, I really, really like this one right out of her shoulder. It's unfortunate to me. I work back in that doe, and from her last rib back is where she gives me fits. She's too tight right there in the way her loin and her hook, her loin and her hip kind of hooked up there, and I wish that doe was just a little smoother all the way out through the base of her tail. I like this doe that comes next a lot in motion, to be honest with you. She's big-footed, she's stout-structured, she's really, really flexible. I study that doe, though, and from behind, I thought she tapered back too narrow to her pin set relative to the width of her chest and the stoutness of her neck. I didn't think she matched the back third with the front two thirds, because I really like that doe's neck set. Her forearm's big, her front leg's extremely good. I like the turn of her body. I thought her hip got her beat in an extremely competitive lineup. I thought both of these does were just a shot iffy in motion, and that's what I'll call it. I really, really like just the stoutness, the natural dimension on the two does that come next. Ultimately, what made my mind up, I like the length of body, the length of pattern, and I just like the rump levelness of the doe that we're going to round out our top five with. That doe's really powerful, guys. She's big-chested. She's wide from behind. I study her in motion. I'm not sure if she's bloated or just a little full in her physical feel, but she wants to almost like cut up in her underline and get a little full to the upper part of her rib. I didn't think her hind leg set square enough from the side or from behind to go up in a very, very competitive top three. Very powerful goat here that comes next, and I've already stated earlier in the day, I'm a guy that likes them as stout as you can make them, and this one is. She's very, very broad and big back. She's wide from behind. I just can't sacrifice skeletal quality and design, and that's where that one gives up. Too short and steep out of her hip. She wants to pull her hock in, yet to get just a nickel straighter in the angle of her hind leg. I didn't think that one went with enough authority to move up any higher in this lineup. Back two-thirds of the doe that comes next is really good. Turn of her body, hip, and hind legs awesome. She comes at me too closed up in her chest and in her knee and wants to toe out up front on just a little bit of a frailer foot. The doe that comes in next, nothing overly wrong with this goat. I like her design. I like her silhouette. I like her pattern. I need to lengthen her out of her hip, make her just a shot better right at the back of her blade. The doe that comes next out handles the one right ahead of her in terms of just rack shape. I thought she faded a shot over her loin edge. I need to lengthen that one out of her rump just a shot to help her balance and proportion from the side. We got a wide, stout one here that I thought needed to be just a little better in her front knee and the way she set her hock from behind. And we got a pair of does here that we round out the class with. Level design, good looking, just too flat in their body and need to be amplified in terms of their muscle and their stoutness right there at the ground. Great class. Congratulations. Very, very tough all the way through.
Results of class number 3. In 10th place, Cooper Schneeberger from Carnegie, Oklahoma. In 9th place, Riley Anderson, Chillicothe, Missouri. 8th went to Riley Anderson, Chillicothe, Missouri. 7th place, Tabry Lirrell, Hydro, Oklahoma. In sixth place, Morgan Gretzka from Cordon, Iowa. In fifth place, Cody McComb from Pratt, Kansas. Fourth went to McKenna Gay from Piedmont, Oklahoma. Third to Colton Kephart from Bargersville, Indiana. In second place, Tabry Learl from Hydro, Oklahoma. And the winner of class number 3, Kenna Cooley from Pomona, Kansas. In the ring is class number 4.
A lot of times when I'm judging, I reflect back on home. It's funny. I think a lot about it, and my favorite thing to do when I'm at home, there's a little patch of cows where a lot of those best fall-born age cows are at, and I go back and I look at those cattle and those trees, and what I liked about them and admired about them, they were so stout and dense and burly and sound. Ultimately, I just asked myself on those top three, which one would be the proudest to take home and be just the most excited to admire, like that little set of cows back there in the back patch. No question about it. I'm passionate about the kind of livestock that wins this class. I like her just so good in the way she's opened up to her chest, the turn of her body. Her barrel's big, and man, she handles good right out of the backside of her shoulder. That's where she distances herself from the pack. I just wanted to handle those goats just in terms of their natural stance. I didn't want to feel them with a brace. Honestly, I just wanted to kind of get the natural perception of the animal when I went through and handled. That one's the widest from behind in terms of the upper part of her hip. She handles the best right from behind her shoulder to her loin edge, all the way out through her hip. Call a spade a spade. Her hind leg needs to be bigger to match up high, and I'd like to lengthen her out of her rump and square up in her hock from behind. I'll tell you everything that I see wrong with her just as much as I admire that one. But there's just so much good in that one in terms of her base width and her barrel. I just can't afford to beat that kind in my mind. I'd just be mad at myself for the rest of the day. The one that comes in second, that's as good a built one as what we've had in the ring so far. I love that one's just density of bone work, big feet, stout ankled, perfect in her top and underline in motion, neat in terms of her neck set and look up front. I get my hands on that one. I study her up front, and I handle her down her top. She's not as wide and neat in her chest. I thought she really faded from her last rib back into her loin. I thought she needed to be just a little wider, square, and more prominent in her loin edge. To be honest with you, I'd like to give her just a shot more up her hip shape and drop her just a shot in terms of her twist. We got a wild-looking one here that comes in third, and there's some parts that I love and some parts that don't hit me quite as hard. I've got mixed emotions on this goat, to be real honest with you. Wild-necked, neat in motion, extremely level in terms of her top line. Her underline sets in her very, very nicely as well. She's got a little more permanent curl to her hind leg, just to be honest with you. She's a little longer and plainer in her head, and when I went through and handled those does, I want to get just underneath her hair coat just a shot. I handle right here, young lady. She's a little flatter right in her forerib. I grab her in terms of her thigh and the way she goes from her hip down, and she's just a little narrower and plainer there. Got great hair, and I love that kind, no doubt about it. But if we just got to get real critical on a top trio of those that I think are all big-time good, that's what I see. But still, great job showing. I like that one quite well. Congratulations to you. The doe that comes in four, I like this one a lot in terms of her chest and her body, and she's big-ribbed, and she's really wide from behind. For me, I study her in motion. I study her from her hooks to her pin bone, not just parallel enough there, and I'd like to see that one with a more attractive set to her hind leg, but still wide-chested, big-ribbed, represents stout, practical, good-bodied livestock. Same story on the next one, wide-chested, good handling up high. Didn't think her hip and her hind leg was built for the long haul like some of the ones ahead. The doe that comes next, I like the middle third of her body. I need to stouten that one in her hind leg, make her a little bigger pin set from behind. Got one here that's really good in terms of her structure. I thought she ran out of front-end quality and bone work. We work on down the line. This doe here, good in her structure. I like this one's handle, and she's very practical in her kind. To be honest with you, I didn't think she was as neat at the crest of her neck and the way she went from there forward as some of the goats up ahead. Stout one here that needs to be just a little better in terms of her hind leg. We got a trio of goats that we round out with. They're good structured, they're sound, they're stout in their feature. For me, they just need to be wider, stouter, and bolder all the way through. Great class, congratulations. That was a fun top trio to sort. Hope I described them well enough for you. Congratulations, guys.
Results of class number 4. In 10th place, Jacob Moore, Smithville, Texas. 9th place went to Natalie Reed from Elgin, Oklahoma. 8th place, Esmeralda Franklin, Hume, Missouri. 7th place, Natalie Reed from Elgin, Oklahoma. 6th place, Kenyon Hartle, Wellington, Colorado. 5th place, Dylan Wagner, Padrone, Colorado. 4th place went to Max Petzenhauser from Roland, Iowa. 3rd place, Gabriel Zentner from Dalton Gardens, Idaho. 2nd went to Reagan Rogers, and 1st place went to Kenya Cooley from Pomona, Kansas. In the ring is class number 5.
A lot of times when I showed back in the day, several years ago, I always wondered what a judge was thinking when he was sitting there and studying. Because a lot of times things could get waspy in a hurry, and Ryan and I actually had a conversation about that a while back. Hey, when a judge sits there and studies, a lot of times they can overlook the elephants for ants, and that's what we tell our judging kids not to do. Young lady up front, don't worry. I wasn't studying too hard. I was just admiring your doe because I really, really like that one. To call a spade, if you want to see something that hits me right hard, dead center in the chest, we can look right here in the center of the ring and find something that does that. You want to criticize her and tweak her just a little bit, that's fine, we can. But if you build one and make one like her, you'd be really proud of her, and I'd be proud of that one myself. That one's just so neat in terms of her base width and her chest and her forearm and how her bone correlates to just such a big, burly rib. And it's just hard to make a doe that's wide in terms of her chest and transition so good right out of the back of her blade. I think her pin set and the elevation to her pins is extremely good. She goes to the ground square from behind. Maybe she's got a little tweak in terms of her front foot, but like I told you earlier, maybe we're worried just a little bit too much about making these goats level sometimes. I want to make them wide, and I want to make them big-footed. She does that with extras in terms of look, balance, build, and quality. I like that one a whole bunch to win. I think power and just separation underneath divides the goats in 2 and 3. The goat here in 2, last rib forward, she can run with the goat that wins this class. I thought last rib back she couldn't. That one's awesome in her body line, big chested, really opened up from behind her shoulder all the way out through her loin edge. I study her from her jump muscle to where she sets her tail. I need to lengthen her and level her there. I need to crank her up in her tail base, and to be honest with you, I'd like to give her just a little more hind leg to match her power and shape up high. The goat in 3 has got big-time feature, and I like that about her big foot, stout hind leg, great silhouette, and a long neck that ties right on the top of her blade. She comes at me too narrow, and she leaves me with the same story. I'd like to just stouten her in terms of her rib design, make her wider up front, and a shot wider from behind. The goat that comes next, we need more feature and probably just a little harder handle, but her body line and the way that doe can go in motion is as good as any of them. We got a pair of does here that come next that are really similar in their kind. To be honest with you, I thought the one of the young ladies with the traditional headed doe was just a little stouter in her hip and probably just a little bigger in her feature. They're just a little plainer in terms of their shoulder line and the way they come out of their hip. The next one we already kind of talked. Good in terms of her body. Her base width up front is good. I'd like to see that one just a little better to her loin. And for me, I need to stouten her up in her hind leg. As we move on down the line, goats that are long-bodied, they're good in their structure and their skeleton. Probably just a little plainer through their chest for me. Didn't balance out quite right from the side. And to be honest, they probably just need a little more muscle all the way through. Great class, a class winner up top that I'm pretty fond of and awfully proud of to find in this particular division. Congratulations to the rest of you guys. If you guys will, around ringside, let's pump it up. Let's give them a nice round of applause for their efforts.
Results of class number 5. In 10th place, Joy Baldwin from Caldwell, Texas. 9th, Blair Sanchez, Burns, Wyoming. 8th place, Allison Hawker from Loveland, Colorado. 7th place went to Dylan Wagner, Padrone, Colorado. 6th place, Kara Rogers from Gilbert, Arizona. 5th place, Ariana Franklin from Hume, Missouri. 4th place, Kara Rogers from Gilbert, Arizona. 3rd went to J.C. Falkenstein from Oswego, Kansas. 2nd, Addison Schneeberger from Carnegie, Oklahoma. And 1st place in class number 5, Maggie McDonald from Magnolia, Arkansas. In the ring is class number 6. Upon completion of this class, we'll do the champion drive of the Wether does.
Father Time has probably caught up to does in this particular class. To be honest with you, young lady, young lady up front, you're third. Sorry. They're just a little past their prime in terms of maturity and where they're at in terms of condition today. I still think just in terms of quality alone, though, the doe that wins has to, and she does so very quick, in my opinion. Her base width is right. She's opened up underneath. I love the turn of her body. She handles good up high. She needs just a little more bone work to match her body and her power, but still I think she complements her body and rib and true dimension with a high caliber, neat silhouette, good presence, nice in motion. She outhorses the one that comes right in behind her. In terms of freshness alone, the Goatin' second's got them all beat. I like this one's length of body and her lateness of maturity probably aids to just a little leaner composition at this stage of the game. This doe's still fresh in terms of her hide and her hair, and she's got a bigger foot and a stouter hind leg than the goat that wins. I get right behind these does, and I study her. I think she flattens to the base of her hip here. She's too shallow in terms of her twist. I need to set her wider at her hock and make her a little bigger from behind. The goat that comes in third, moderate, big-ribbed, really stout in terms of her structure. She gets too plain at the crest of her neck and at the base of her shoulder for me. I'd like to lengthen her and level her out of her hip just a shot. Nice shot. The goat that comes in next, I like this one from the side. Her height to shoulder and skeletal quality allows for just a really nice image. And for me, I like this one in motion quite well. I get on either end. I just ask myself, is there enough power there? Ultimately, I said no, and that's why she landed fourth today. We move on down the line. A good skeleton doe here that comes next. I like her basic build and design. I need to make that one just a little bolder in terms of her full rib, bigger in her rump, blend just a little smoother from her shoulder right there into her neck. We round out the class with a pair of does that are real functional. They're good in their basic build and their kind. They got to be wider, stouter, and bolder all the way through for me to just work up any higher in this lineup. Congratulations to these guys. Great class all the way through. Nice job.
Results of class number six. In seventh place, Jake Nichols, Gillette, Wyoming. Sixth place, Cole Spurlock, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Fifth place, Esmeralda Franklin, Hume, Missouri. Fourth place, Allison Hawker, Loveland, Colorado. Third place, Riley Anderson, Chillicothe, Missouri. Second place is Gabrielle Zentner, Dalton Gardens, Idaho. And the winner of class number 6 was Tabry Lyerly from Hydro, Oklahoma. Next in the ring is the champion drive. We need first and seconds out of each class. Report back for the champion drive. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion drive out of Class 1, first place, Stetson Kephart. Out of Class 2, Addison Schneeberger. Out of Class 3, Kenna Cooley. Class 4, Kenna Cooley. Class 5, Maggie McDonald. And out of Class 6, the winner was Tabry Lyerly. Now your second place out of each class. Out of Class 1, Riley Anderson. Class 2, Colton Kohler. Class 3, Tabry Lyerly. Class 4, Reagan Rogers. Class 5, Addison Schneeberger. And Class 6, Gabriel Zenter. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, put your hands together for the champion drive of the Wether Doe class. And while we have a minute, if you would, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big thank you to Skylar Scotton from Nevada, Missouri, who's our judge today. He's done an amazing job with both the animals and our exhibitors. Again, Skylar, thank you for being here. Appreciate all your hard work.
Well, we wrap out this evening with a really high spot in my mind. We just got to great set of livestock, great set of kids out here, and honestly, I know I said it earlier, but I just want to reiterate the fact it's just a really great honor and a privilege for me to be at the National Western and be able to work with your young people and evaluate a great set of livestock as high a caliber as this. I know we've got a great tomorrow afternoon set up, and I'm really, really excited to see what's to come. But, guys, there's some close decisions that got to be made right here, and there's a lot of quality in this lineup. I'll tell you what I see real quick. We didn't have just a whole lot of classes that we got to talk through, but the quality was there, and I want to tell you what I see just ever so quick right here. Class 1, front 2/3 I like a lot. She's not there yet today. She's too short and steep out of her hip. She gets out horsed by some bigger ones right behind, but still her look of quality and balance I think is extremely good. Second in that class, very well designed and good built. Needs just a shot more power all the way through. We start getting things heated up just a little bit here in Class 2. To be honest with you, the goat out of Class 2 isn't probably the freshest haired goat out here, to be honest with you, and that's probably taken away from her image just a little bit. But if we're going to study basic build, top line, hip and hind leg, and the way those things go in motion, she's arguably one of the best out here. I think that doe is just so good in her next set. Her hip and her hind leg go with such reach and such coordination that I dearly love. To be right honest, maybe we could pry her apart just right there at the top of her shoulder and make her just a wedge just a shot bigger in her chest, and I already called a spade. I'd like to stouten up her head just a shot. But, man, the back 2/3 of that thing are as good as you can build, in my opinion. Second in that class, I like that one quite well. Big-footed, stout-structured, hip and hind leg needed to be just a shot better. I really like this goat here that comes out of Class 3. She pulls in her hock, and she's a little steeper from her hooks to her pins, and maybe her front foot could toe a little straighter, but I just love her moderation, her body type, her power, her density. The kind of livestock she represents is extremely, extremely good. Maybe I'd like to tweak that one just a shot in terms of her structure. Second in class, I told you that was as good a built one as we had in the ring so far today. I thought she had the beauty, just probably not the beast in terms of bone, foot size, feature, and right there and behind her shoulder. This one's in the mix. It comes out of Class 4. I'm pretty high on this one, to be honest with you. Just her chest width, her head, her blade shape, and the way she transitions out of her shoulder, I thought was really, really good. Her barrel and the way she handles up high, I think handle like they're supposed to. I get right here, and I look all the way back to her hip. I think her progression of width is good, and her hind leg set from behind is extremely good and square. I study her from right here. She's a little bit sloped off in terms of her hip. I need to stouten her in terms of her hind leg relative to what she's got up high past that. I think that's a wide-bodied, powerful beast with still a high-caliber build. Good-looking one here that comes second in Class 4. Foot-size bonework, feature, outline, and silhouette as good as any. I didn't think she had enough power working in her loin edge or from behind. I really like this one that comes out of Class 5. I kind of played my hand in that class. I like that kind a whole bunch, just big-footed, so wide and opened up and just dense and durable. She's so just stout in her head and her form and her feature, and that just tells me, hey, I am a bad cat from there back, and I've got some horsepower that came to play at the National Western today. Her barrel's big, her hip's big, her hind leg matches it, and if you want to call her ugly, I guess I just have to disagree because she is beautiful colored. I think her pattern and her stoutness and structure just align with such an elite image from the profile. I like that one quite a bit. The one that was second in that class, front 2/3, I like quite well. A little steeper out of her hip and a little further on her hind leg. We round out the day with a big set of heavyweight goats that are wide, they're stout, and they're true in their body. I thought this one got just a little more mature in her chest. I'd like to lengthen her out of her hip. Second, probably just the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of type and kind. Long, really fresh. I like the length of her cannon and just her extension. I didn't think she had enough from behind. To be real honest with you guys, I thought it was a one-horse race today, and it gets really, really tight for reserve. I'm going to take me another look. We'll select a champion, and I'll take another look for reserve. But if you guys will around ringside, congratulate these exhibitors on an outstanding set of livestock. It's not easy getting them looking this good.
Champion Wether doe comes out of class number 5, Maggie McDonald. Congratulations. Your reserve champion Wether doe comes out of class number 4. That's Kenna Cooley. Congratulations. Congratulations, all our exhibitors. Again, Skylar, thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate all your hard work. Have a safe trip home. Bora show starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. Market goats are at 1. Thank you.